dedicated to empowering you with information
to make positive choices
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View. Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunetz, and our topic today is about self-empowering tools to live your best life. My guest is Allison Morgan, founder and CEO of Sensational Kids, an educational company bringing evidence-based yoga and mindfulness practices to school communities worldwide, teaching the inner resources of focused attention, self-awareness, and resilience. Allison is passionate about training educators, mental health professionals, and allied health professionals effective techniques to share these practices with youth. She began integrating yoga and mindfulness into her therapy sessions with children in 2007, discovering the multitude of physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral benefits these practices offered her occupational therapy clients, and recognizing the need for more mental health programs in schools. Allison began writing curriculum and developing teacher training programs to help others share these practices. She is the author of 3 separate curriculums for pre-K through high school-age students: Young Explorers, Yoga and Mindfulness in Early Childhood Education; Educate to Be, Tools for Engaged Learning and Living; and Everyday Mindfulness, Techniques for Teens to Develop Compassion, Calm, Focus, and Resilience. She is also the author of Wisdom Within, a children's exploration of inner awareness, and was a contributor to Best Practices for School Yoga. She has partnered with universities to conduct research investigating the effectiveness of yoga and mindfulness with special needs populations, and contributes to several advisory boards and organizations involved in creating better lives for children. Along with helping schools develop resilient and compassionate internal and external environments for students and educators to thrive, Allison contributed the mindfulness component of the Jesse Lewis Choose Love program, a free social and emotional learning curriculum for pre-K through 12th grade, partnering with Newark Yoga Movement. She helped to develop Inner Calm, a school-wide yoga and mindfulness program to help students center, move, and relax at the start of their day. Please help me welcome Allison Morgan. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you.
I'd like you to share with us the most important information related to what people can do to help them have the tools that they need.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share it, because it's unbelievable just to know that there are things that we could do for ourselves that can impact ourselves so greatly. And it's really about working with ourselves from the inside out. You know, we live in this society where everyone's running around, everyone's, stressed and doing so much, and there's so much information out there. We're sort of like on information overload. And we think that the answers for ourselves are outside of ourselves. And through all of the research and the work and the personal study I've done, I've really discovered that it's really about what we do for ourselves, within ourselves. So, when we talk about what are really the most powerful tools that we could use for ourselves to create more joy, more ease, more contentment, and our happiness in our lives, there's really like 3 major things that I usually start out teaching. And the first being that, we all know we're stressed, we're overloaded, we're overwhelmed. And really, a lot of that is a function of the way we've programmed our nervous system. So we have this wonderful nervous system that keeps us alive. It does things for us that we don't even have to think about. So, for example, if we're in danger, it gets us out of danger. And when we're relaxed, it helps us maintain a relaxed state. So we have this autonomic nervous system, which is divided into two branches. One is called the sympathetic nervous system, and the other one, the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is really what kicks us in gear when we're in danger. So you could think of our nervous system as like it always wants to keep us safe. And safety's first, right? So we don't want to think about when we're being chased or when we're really scared. We don't want to think about what we do to keep ourselves safe. Our body just kicks in gear and makes us run to safety or hide or fight back. And that's governed by our sympathetic nervous system, which is really like our stress state. So what happens when our sympathetic nervous system is kicked into gear, our body floods with these hormones that keep us going. It's sort of like putting the pedal of the gas pedal down in the car. Get you going, get your heart, rate racing, get your breath really quick. It sort of gives you the superhuman strength momentarily to get you out of danger. And again, it's automatic. You don't need to think about it. Unfortunately, what happens is that because we lived in very stressed states often, this branch of our nervous system is highly active. It's kind of going all the time. And this other branch called the parasympathetic nervous system, it's not going, we're not activating it enough. So the parasympathetic nervous system is all about rest, digest, heal, and be. Where sympathetic is about go, 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 get through it, rush through it, power through it, or hide, run and hide. So going back to like what's a self-empowering tool, number one is to recognize what state you're in and really balance that nervous system. And it's something that we can do really just by even using our breath. The way that we use our breath to sort of realign and rebalance that nervous system. So actually, if I could show you something that we all could do just to take a moment. And what I love about what I'm going to show you is you don't have to cognitively know, like, I'm stressed out, I can't do this anymore, I'm overwhelmed. This is something that you can really just take a minute or two out of your day, maybe even a few times a day, to do this for yourself. And it'll just continually rebalance your nervous system so that you won't be so susceptible to getting stressed at, the snap of a finger or something like that. So how does that sound?
It sounds wonderful.
All right, great. I'm going to stay seated for this.
Perfect.
And there's two things that I'm going to show. One is movement with some breath. And the other is just to stop, pause, and a certain way to posture ourselves during our breath. So for our listeners, if you could just sit back a little bit in your chair and keep your feet on the floor. It just keeps your body feeling secure. And we're going to take a big breath in. And when we do, you're just going to reach your arms all the way out to the side and bring in your heart forward and your head up. This is a breath in. So you could take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to round your back, and you could even give yourself a hug. Your hands come across your body, shoulder to shoulder. Your chin tucks in, and your spine is rounded towards the back of your chair. That's your breath out. So your breath in, you reach your arms out to the side and look up, breathing in. Exhale, round your back, cross your arms like you're giving yourself a hug. Big breath out, get all the air out, tuck your chin, round your spine. Another big breath in and big breath out. So you can do that just a few times, getting that rhythm of your breath in and out. And then just take a moment, stop, put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And you can either close your eyes or just softly gaze down. And you're just going to breathe. Notice your breath. Maybe you notice your heart beating. And feel your body just taking in air. And if it's available to you, see if you can get breath into your belly. So not only will your hand at your heart move, but your hand on your belly will move as well. So for many of us that when we get stressed or we get frightened, most of our air just stays around the upper lung area. So what we're looking to do is see if we can fill our lungs to full capacity, getting breath into our lower lungs as well. So that would make the belly expand. And then just take a big breath in and a big breath out and release your hands. And take a moment to just notice how you feel. So another thing really is just always taking time to appreciate, notice, and acknowledge how you feel. We don't do that enough. We're always looking at how does everything look around us? Am I getting everything in order? But to continually tune in to how we're feeling is very, very important.
And when we do that, Allison, are we what you call hacking into our nervous system?
That's exactly it, Yvonne. So we have this incredible nerve. It's our 10th cranial nerve. It sounds really big and scientific. But it goes from the base of our brain all the way down through our diaphragm, and it just innervates everything within our abdomen, all of our organs. And it sends messages from our body to our brain, telling our brain, what's the state of affairs here? You know, is it really tight and anxious here, or is it calm and relaxed? And when we train ourselves really to breathe this way, or remember to breathe into our belly, take big full breaths in, what happens is that we activate that vagus nerve. And it sends a message from our body up to our brain, telling our brain, oh, all is well. It's okay. Because very often we're doing the flip. You know, our brain is saying like, oh my God, I can't get that done. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? Oh, I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. So our brain is sending messages to our body, and it's making our body freak out. So here we're hacking into it, and we're helping our body send message to our brain. We're okay.
So Allison,
you're okay.
Speaking about the brain, because this is an important thing that we've just done for our nervous system, what can we do to master the mind?
Oh, yeah. So many of us are just consumed by the external environment, and the external environment dictates so much about, what we're thinking and what we're doing. And, our mind is a wonderful little creature. We have 40 to 60,000 thoughts per day. But because of much of our primitive wiring, most of those thoughts are pretty negative. And what happens is we think negative thoughts, and whatever you think over and over and over again, you become. It's like you're training yourself, or you're programming yourself, and it becomes your belief. So what I like to teach is can we become the master of our own mind rather than being the servant to our mind? So when we're a servant to our mind, we believe everything the mind dreams up. And when you're not really aware of what the mind is dreaming up, because I said we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts, they're not all conscious thoughts. A lot of them are subconscious thoughts. So we're functioning based off of those unconscious thinking, which we know is very negative. So we become the servant to that because we're unaware of it, and we tend to live off of that.
So Allison, is there a tool that we can learn to help us to master our minds?
Yes. And there's this wonderful activity that we have in many of our mindfulness curriculum that we bring to schools. One of them is called drifting clouds. And this is a wonderful way to, as a step of mastering your mind, to just befriend your mind, understand and acknowledge what is it that your mind is just feeding you all of the time. So what we do is we'll just sit quietly, just like we did before, with our hands on our heart and our hands on our belly. But really now the purpose is just to listen and observe what the mind is allowing to come in. And this really takes a bit of compassion. Because, when we sit and we close our eyes, and I see this all the time, I work with educators teaching them these things. And the minute you sit and you close your eyes, oh my God, there's a flood of things that come in, right? We start thinking of the worries, what I should have done, what I could have done.
That's the same for parents, community members, and business.
For everybody.
We all do this, so all of it applies to all of us, right?
Absolutely.
So we close our eyes and we do what?
So we close our eyes and, I like to give the visual of just imagine that you're in a park, laying on the grass, looking up at a beautiful blue sky, and you notice soft, fluffy clouds just slowly drifting by. And as you're just laying here relaxing, your mind will start feeding you some thoughts. So rather than attaching to the thoughts and continually thinking about them over and over, just notice the thought comes in. Whatever the thought might be, it's all okay. But then imagine that thought just floats up to a cloud, and just like the clouds drift by, just let the thought drift by. Even the thought, if the thought is, what am I making for dinner? What am I making for dinner? Okay, what am I making for dinner goes up in the cloud, and then let it go. It's just a thought. And then let the next one come in. So you're just really observing where your mind takes you. And you're doing without judgment and with some compassion to just be aware.
And that exercise, I'm sure, helps people feel an element of peace and calm as they do that. They get grounded and centered.
Yeah, I mean, it's a practice of really separating yourself from the thoughts. So on my website, I have this blog there of you are not your thoughts.
And what is your website? What is your website?
The website, it's sensationalkids.com.
Excellent. So you were saying on your website you have materials there.
Yes, there's a lot of free materials, resources for adults to use for themselves of practices and things that they could share with the children in their lives, whether it's a parent working with their own child, wanting to teach them some of these things, or an educator wanting to share it in the classroom.
That's wonderful. Now, Allison, what about the emotional, the feelings? What would you recommend for people to do regarding how they feel and how they can have a self-empowering tool to help them with their emotions?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Once we start thinking lots of things, those thoughts, they become our emotions, right? We start to embody them. And I love the quote by Fred Rogers. It's emotions are mentionable and manageable. So just like we're not our thoughts, they just happen, we really are not our emotions either. Emotions don't define us, they just inform us. And one of the greatest tools that we can give our children is to know that if they can name it, I'm angry, or I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, or I'm happy. But if they can name it, they can tame it. And this is a function of what happens within our brain when we do just state what it is, when we become more aware of what that emotion actually is. And for adults, this is so important because so often we react to things in our lives, other people or situations, not based on what's happening in the moment, but based on an emotion that we had brewing from maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours ago, or a day ago. So it's so empowering for us to be able to understand how we're feeling in the moment so that we can understand if you're going to interact with somebody or respond to something, to understand that you might be reacting to it based on this emotion from something else rather than what's really happening in this interaction right now. So being emotionally aware is
taking the time to understand how you feel helps us to literally, again, reset within the body, correct?
Yeah.
Now, when people are identifying that, though, is there a particular exercise they can do to understand their emotions? Or is it just that awareness through their breath and understanding where they are in the moment?
Well, it's really a practice of asking yourself that question of, what am I feeling right now? And sometimes, especially with younger children, or I work a lot with children with different abilities, autism and ADHD, it's very hard for them to be able to say, well, I'm angry. But what they are able to do is say, like, I'm tight or I'm hot. So rather than just naming the emotion, which might be difficult for some people, it might be difficult for some adults to do that as well because they're not so in touch with their emotions. There's so much of our society, it's like, don't feel that, push that away, get over it. But if they could at least connect with the sensation that they're feeling, to get to know how their body responds to certain things, it'll help calm that emotion. Because it's not about push it away, get over it. It's not about you can't be angry or you can't be sad. These are things that affect us, and we should be allowed to feel them, but without becoming overwhelmed by the feeling of them.
And then that helps us in our relationships and communications with others so that we healthfully respond versus react.
Exactly. And there's another sort of free giveaway that I have on my website. It's a journaling worksheet. And this is really for adults to use for themselves. It's called Creating Ease. And it's really about giving them the tools to be able to become more aware of what it is that you're thinking very often, what it is that you're feeling, and how you behave based on those things, and what you intend and what you choose to cultivate for yourself. So a lot of people don't understand that not only can we choose the thoughts that we have, we can choose the emotions that we have. But until you become aware of what your propensity is, of what you typically go to, it's hard to be empowered to know that you could choose this for yourself.
So what are the most important things that people can do to help them ignite utilizing these tools to make a difference in their lives?
Really, it's taking the time for yourself, knowing that you are an incredibly powerful being. And getting caught up in all of the doing doesn't serve you as a human being, because we are not human doings, we are human beings. So really getting to know what's in your mind, what's in your body, those feelings, what's in your heart, and knowing that you have the power to shift it all and create the life that you truly want. But it starts from within.
Allison, this was very helpful. I greatly
so glad.
appreciate it, and I thank you very much. So for people to get the downloadable information, they can go to
zenstationalkids.com.
Excellent.
It's most of the things that we talked about are available on the blog. So if they just click in the top tab to blog, they'll see all the information there. We have more videos for practices for them and downloadable scripts and activities too that they can share with others.
And they can do it together in families too, practicing it together so that the whole family feels
Absolutely.
more whole and peaceful and calm and has a better life because they've taken the time to attend to themselves and take care of each other and themselves.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.